Greetings, RC Model Geeks, and here we are in the shed yet again for part 2 of the DW Hobby Fokker DR1 build. Right, I was going to start with the two guns this morning, but I'm having trouble identifying one part. Which is basically a long strip of wood. Now, rather than going through the copious amounts of wood piles that I've got here for the plane, I'm just going to carry on building stuff, and hopefully I'll come across that bit of wood, and when I do, we will build the gun. So I thought we'd start off with the tail surfaces. So the horizontal stabilizer and the rudder, basically. I've quickly been through the drawing this morning, just noting any errors that will need to be corrected. And there's a couple of minor details, as you can see, I've marked up. So now I'm going to go through, find some wood, and build the tail. So I will be back with you when I've got some wood ready to go. Okay, construction is underway of the tailplane, the horizontal stabilizer. I've started off by just doing the outside structure. I've glued it all together, and I'm ensuring that this rear part of the horizontal stabilizer is straight. Otherwise you'll end up with a wonky hinge line. So the next thing to do is fill in all those inside parts. So I'll get on with that and come back to you. Right, we are progressing. So that is the horizontal stabilizer finished, all glued up. I've just used super glue, my good old favourite that I've used from probably the last 20 models, which is that stuff. Works a treat. So now I'm going to do the elevator halves, which are there and there, and get them glued together. So back with you soon. We are getting there. There is the first half of the elevator. Basically, I'm making up the outside frame first and getting that all square. Once that's done, I will glue in all the cross pieces and the diagonals. One thing I've done on this, before I glued this part in here and glued that on there, I radiused this leading edge of the elevator. The reason I did that is because once this part is glued on here, it's difficult to get right up to the edge to get a nice radius. So I just radiused it beforehand and then glued it on. It just makes it a little bit simpler. Now, pretty much on the full size triplane, everything is made of tubing. Yeah, so like the fuselage, the tail planes and stuff will be all a tubing. So when you come to finish your elevators, your rudders and stuff like that, you want to radius everything. So, you know, all round this edge here, round here is all going to be radiused like a half circle. You know, you don't leave them flat and ugly, which I've seen some people do. So yeah, you know, all your outside edges pretty much want a you know, a radius on them to simulate it being made out of tubing. Right, I'm going to carry on and get this one finished. Right, we are nipping along quite nicely. Both elevator halves are now done as well, so that's good. There is one other part that's meant to go on here, which is Pt2. I'm holding off doing that at the moment because I'm not really happy with the little joiner that goes to join the two halves together. I think it might be a little bit small, so I'm just hanging off on that, sticking that little part on there, and we'll probably come back to that later, but that is no biggie. So the next thing is to do the rudder, which is under here. So I'll move the plan over a bit and we'll build the rudder. Right, well, that rudder was pretty quick to put together. Just all slotted together, super glued, Bob's your uncle, all done. So that was very easy. The only thing I haven't put on is this C31. And the reason I haven't put that on is I can't find it. There's so many sheets of ply. I've got a feeling this is a bit of ply here. There's so many pieces that, you know, I'll find it when I find it, basically. If I go searching through it, parts are going to fall out, you know, and there's parts that aren't numbered on the part itself. They're only numbered on the bit of wood that it's cut out of. And you end up with a pile of stuff that you've got no idea what it is. So we'll just keep an eye out for it as we build the plane, and when we find T31 we will stick it onto the rudder. So that is the rudder all done. What's next? That is the question. Should we have a look at this landing gear? The landing gear wing, because triplane's actually got 4 wings, ironically. It's got a wing across the landing gear, which is under here. So I think we might look at that next. Right, I've spent the last hour hunting parts for this landing gear wing. So there it all is. There's an axle for the wheels, a leading edge for the wing, plus some spars. Those things, L7, go on the blind nuts to strengthen that area up. That is another spar there, L8. It's actually labelled up wrong. It should be L8, and I think in the parts it's labelled as L7, and it's certainly wrong on the drawing under there as well. But that part there with 2 notches in it is L8, and all the other ones only have a notch in one side, which is L6. Yeah, I was hunting for one of these, L4. One of them is on a separate sheet, and you know, there's so many sheets to go through, you know. Yeah, but anyway, found it in the end. So there's the full set of ribs, and a trailing edge. Now you'll also notice here there are 4 screws, 2 springs, and 4 blind nuts. So yeah, great fun. Actually, I counted up how many blind nuts there are in this kit. There's 18 blind nuts. Now this hardware here has a dual purpose. It's there to hold the wing to the undercarriage, but it's also there, because of the springs, to act as suspension for the undercarriage as well. Now there's going to be a slight issue with that we will come to later, and we'll come to a way round it as well, but nothing major. It's just it makes it impossible to assemble once the wing is covered, basically. So yeah, we need to just work away around that little issue. But anyway, so I'm going to put this together now, and I am dripping in here. It is flipping hot, and I have to turn the fan off every time I do a bit of video, and the temperature just goes through the roof within about 30 seconds. So yeah, I mean, this will be the last bit I'm going to do today, this lower wing. So I'll come back to you when I've got it a bit further. Okay, so the first thing you need to do before making this wing is glue these discs L7 onto the rib L3, and you want to make a pair of them, a left and a right-handed pair, like that. I've had to open up the hole that was through there slightly, just to clear that shaft of the blind nut. But the principle is then they will push into there in 4 positions, there, there and there, ready to accept some screws. So I'm going to get those blind nuts pushed through. So we're getting close to final assembly of this landing gear wing. One other thing you've got to do before you sort of finally assemble it, well, I do anyway, it makes it much easier, is I've glued L1 and L2 together. Okay, obviously making a left and a right hand one, so they're going to go there and one down that end. The blind nuts are glued in there, so we're all ready to go for assembling it. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so I've glued the end ribs down at the rear there and at the front. And that's got everything nice and square. So all we've got to do now is drop all the other ribs in and glue them down. So that shouldn't take long at all. Okay, I've dropped all the other ribs in and then dropped in the 2 top spars there and there. And as you can see, I mean, the whole thing is just lined up perfect, and it's wonderful. So all I've got to do now is just glue all the joints, and then put on the leading edge. So I will be back, as Arnie would say, when I've done a bit of gluing on that. Right. Here is the undercarriage wing completed. Now, those blind nuts, what were they for? They're for that spring. And that spring is the undercarriage suspension. And you can see I've put the undercarriage axle in there. And you can see, wang, 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 wang. So that's basically how that works. Now, that's all great and good. There's one slight technical hitch. Those 2 screws that hold that spring in also hold the undercarriage legs, or the undercarriage legs bolt to those. Now, of course, when this is all covered, it's almost impossible to get to this spring. So when you undo these 2 screws to remove the undercarriage, for example, or to assemble it, that spring just falls down and flops around. And yeah, you can't get to it because this is covered. yeah, so something needs to be worked out with that. The idea is half good, but the execution has slightly failed. Now the undercarriage legs don't bolt on the outside, they bolt in here. Or they fit in here as well. So there's nothing to stop the undercarriage legs moving from side to side like that either. As can be seen, let's have a look. Here is the assembly drawing for that. Right there, you can see the undercarriage legs coming down, and they just bolt in behind, or rattle around behind, more like. So, yes, we need to think about that one a little bit and see if we can come up with a better solution. Yeah, I sort of have one, but we'll see how it goes. Right, that's it for the day. It's roasting hot, and it's 5 o'clock, so it's time to pack up, I think. Yeah, I mean, let's put the wheels on, shall we, before we go, just for a giggle. Yeah, hang on a sec there. There's one. Let's put the other one on. Well, there's one. The other one is going to be more difficult because I haven't got enough hands. Come back, hands. All is forgiven. This is when I need some hands. Oh, right. Come on. There. I struggled, but I got there in the end. So that is the basic undercarriage. It's humongous. If you want to see the track, what the distance is, let's get the ruler out. We've had to go for the 2-foot ruler here. So, blimey, must be hay fever. Right, so the width for that undercarriage, 15 inches. So there you go. So that's it for the day. I'll probably see you all tomorrow for part 3. Failing that, it will be a Pete's Problem Planes, because we've still got to sort out his Sky Cruise. And Pete has now retired, which probably means he will be turning up a lot more. And he might even go and fly some of his planes. Now, that would be a miracle. So, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you for watching Captain Rob's RC Model Geeks. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to click that like button. If you want to see more of the same type of videos, don't forget you can subscribe. If you want to support us, you can use PayPal, paypal.me/RC Model Geeks. If you want to contact us, you can email us rcmodelgeeks@gmail.com. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.